Dimensional blondes have become a modern classic. Oh yes, they have. Partial highlighting is not going anywhere, and it's something that we do lots of as hair professionals. In this video, I'm going to take you through a full process of how I create a result like this, and then we're going to get into my top tips for creating dimensional looks. And if you're a consumer, there might be some top tips of the language that you can use when you see your hair professional to get those results. Hello and welcome to the world of Craig. Yes, that's me, I'm Craig, and this is my channel where we get into all things hair and sometimes a little bit of beauty. How long am I going to do that intro for? Who knows? Slightly different setting today, slightly different angle, viewpoint of my flat, and this is a slightly different edit. As you know, if you're coming back to my channel, thank you very much. Just to say I appreciate all of you, sending you all love and light, and if you're new here, hello to you too. But as you know, if you're coming back here again, and I'll share it with you if you're new here, because I've had a lot of new subscribers. I'm so grateful and I'm so chuffed that my channel is growing and people are seeing my content. That I've always produced educational content that is for hair pros and also for consumers. It's all free to watch for anybody that wants to watch it, and I hope that it helps you out. Now, I have always produced tutorials here on my channel, full process, step-by-step tutorials. Some of them have been seen by lots of people, some of them haven't. So I thought we'd try a slightly different edit. And this video, yes, this video is going to have a full process of Molly's gorgeous look that you saw in the intro there, and how to create this dimensional effect, but also how to zone tone, and lots of tips for application and processing, and the formula, of course, will all be in there. So if you're a hair pro and you struggle with creating looks like this video is for you. And if you're a consumer and you want to see how hair pros produce looks like that, or if you want to understand the language so that when you see your hair professionals, then you know how to ask to get that end result. Or if you colour your hair at home, I'm going to be talking about toning and how to apply it, etc, etc. So there's something here for everyone. And if you like the format of this video, then you know what to do. Let me know down in the comments, because I'm constantly trying to evolve here, and having your input and your comments. I read all your comments, I reply to all of your comments. I love the fact that we can, we have a community here on YouTube. So if you enjoy this kind of edit and you find it helpful, let me know in the comments. Okay, enough of that intro, which was supposed to be small but was quite long. Let's get on with gorgeous Molly's process. First up, let's have a look at Molly's canvas. She's been a model of mine now for a couple of years, and she has existing highlights, although last time she did have a copper gold gloss. But of course, with summer looming, she wants to go lighter. She's around a natural level 7, and her hair lifts really easily, and she looks after it at home, so the condition is great. I love all the lighteners from Wella, especially this Blondel one. And as Molly's hair lifts really easily, I'll be using 13 vol. And of course, Foil Me foils. Now I tried out the new Epres bonding strength adding system here. I'm adding it to my lightener. More thoughts on that later on in the video when we come back to me in person. Now I'm starting off my foil application with 3 foils in the nape of the neck, and I'm working in a diagonal pattern up towards the crown. As we want the final result to be around 30% lighter, I'm going to do a full head of foils. You can see that my section here is about ½ an inch in depth, and I'm working from the bottom of the hairline up to the top of my section. I love a wide foil. It saves you so much time in application. And if you'd like a full tutorial that's step-by-step of this placement, you can find it right here on my channel. I've always found that for a true sun-kissed result, I like to mix up the types of weaves that I use. You can see here there are some skip stitch, some that almost slices, and as I work up towards the crown, I'm taking a much finer weave to make sure the results are blended. There I am mixing up fresh lightener, and this is a huge top highlighting tip. Mix up fresh product for each quadrant so you get max lift at a much lower volume of developer. I'm tucking in my teasy lights here to use body heat to get those maximum lift. As I've mentioned many times in all of my foiling tutorials on here, I always work back from the face when it comes to the face frame. I find this gives a much more blended result and a really natural grow out. Right, now we have lift and we're taking Molly's highlights up to around a level 9.5 because I want maximum contrast. More of that coming in a minute. Here's another huge processing hack that really works. Cover the section that you want to get extra lift from with some cling film, and then you're maximizing, yes, that body heat, which gets you the lift at lower volumes of peroxide. Right, it's almost toning time. So we have the lift that we want, but as you saw a moment ago, we do have some stitch marks from all of those foils. But not to worry, Shady Q Gloss is fantastic at sorting that out. Both of my formulas are on screen now, and please feel free to screenshot this for use at a later date. I'm going to use an application method that I like to call zone toning. I take my first formula and apply it to the root to blend those foil marks, and I'm dragging it down about 2 inches, as you can see. I leave the face frame out just to mention that that first formula was applied globally all over the head. I'm just showing you here. Then I take my formula for the mids and I go in and apply that, blending it into that root shadow. I add some clear to my remaining formula, and then that goes on the ends and the face frame last. After the full 20 minutes processing time, we rinsed, shampooed, and then went in with this wonderful new Damage Shield Protective Conditioner from K18. There's a video all about that here on my channel. Then I went in with some Big Blowout from Redken. It's such a fantastic styling product. It gives you great curl and wave memory and body. And yes, that result. Hello, gorgeous blended sun-kissedness. So that was the gorgeous Molly's process there. Everything I used in the video in that process will be linked down below as well. It's non-affiliate. I will just put them down there so that you can find them if you're curious. My jury is out. I have my own jury. My thoughts about the Apres, I'm not really sure. I've only used it a couple of times. It seems to me like it's very similar to Olaplex, to the original Olaplex, and that would make sense because that's who is behind it. Eric Presley, I think the gentleman's name is. I'm a die-hard K18 fan, so that's what I use in salon, but obviously it's good to try all of these things out. And of course I was using Blondor in there because that's my favourite light now, has been for a long time now. Foil Me Foils, etc, etc, Shades of Q Gloss, obviously. Now, clear throat. Now, there's a huge duck outside my flat. I live by a canal and there's a huge duck out there on the grass and it's gorgeous. So it's slightly distracting, but back to the video. Let's have a kind of quick fire round of my top tips for dimensional blonding. And before we get into those, just to mention that there is a playlist here that's all about foil application, which you can find obviously in the playlist. It's packed full of videos. There's loads of foiling videos here. I often get questions from people that say, I can't find, your content, or do you have a video on this? Well, the answer is yes, I probably do, and it's probably in a playlist. Then there's obviously hair color theory, and there are toning videos on here that have been very popular on how to pick an exact formula of toner. But let's have a rapid, quick fire round of some top dimensional tips. Get your words out, Craig. Okay, so my first huge dimensional foil highlighting tip to get those kind of results is that less is more. Oh yes, if you've been hairdressing and doing hair color for as long as I have, back in the day, in the 90s, we used to pack foil on foil on foil on foil on foil. And that's just the way that it was. And I think that some of that has been passed down to the new generations of hair professionals, of hairstylists. Take a breath, Craig. But really, when you're doing dimensional foil highlighting, as you saw in that full process and as you'll see in other videos, I do have a very, I don't want to use the word basic because that's the wrong word to use, but I do have a very simple, straightforward tutorial on my placement that's kind of very step-by-step, very easy to follow. But I use a lot less foils, even when I'm doing something like Molly's hair in this instance, where I was giving it a lot more blonde and a lot more pop of colour because she had been slightly coppery before, copper gold. So really, if you want to get results like that, less is more. Often when I'm doing a dimensional foil highlight refresh, I probably only use about 20 foils and the application only takes me no more than about 40 minutes. So you save time. You get those dimensional results, And the grow out is really cool for the client as well, and it can be very easily refreshed by just using a lot less foil. So when you're getting that sort of result, less is more. And just to add to that very briefly, sometimes you need to add that negative space. So whether that's by low lighting, or as some people call it, reverse balayage, although I find that reverse balayage term very confusing for clients and also for hairdressers. So I call it low lighting, but whether you apply your foils and then you, in between and on the hair that's left out, you use something, and I would use Shades Q gloss to bring everything down, to give it some dimension, as we do with a root shadow, but throughout the rest of the hair, then because it is all about that negative space. So just to add on to less is more, if somebody comes to you as a client, or if you are a client and you've got, you're very, very blonde and you want that dimensional look, it can be done because we can use demi-permanent color in between the foils to add that negative space. Moving on, and this is a really important tip, and that is to lift up so you can then tone down. More about toning in a second, but you want to lift the hair up enough so there is contrast. Molly is a natural level 7, so I lift her highlights to at least a level 9.5, as you saw in that video. Some of the bits around her face frame and on the ends would be lighter, but you want the contrast between the natural level that you're working on and the highlight, even when you've toned it. And that's what gives you that gorgeous inserts video here. That's what gives you that gorgeous dimensional result and those kind of striations, those ribbons of color. So lift up, tone down. And obviously, just to add to that point, I'm filming this with natural light, so I'm sorry if there's a bit of going in and out. It's been pouring with rain here in London today. Just to add to that point, obviously, don't lift up if the hair won't take it. You always want to manage the integrity of the hair using products that help to protect that. Mine of choice is K18, and I have used that for 3 years, and I haven't looked back since I started using it. I used to use something else, but I've been using K18 for over 3 years now, probably. And I wouldn't use anything else in salon or on my clients outside of the salon. But the hair does need to be lifted in order to get that contrast. But obviously the canvas must be in good condition. You must be aware of what the previous hair history is. We have other videos here that are all about hair history too. So yes, you want the lift, but you always want to think about the condition and the integrity of the hair that you are working on. And last but by no means least, it's how you tone the hair that gives you those gorgeous dimensional results. Shades Q gloss, as you know, if you've been coming here a while, I am a huge fan. There is a playlist here that is packed full of Shades Q gloss based videos, hair color theory, how to use it, what you can do with it, etc, etc. But that Shades Q gloss has been kind of pivotal in that movement, really. You can use lots of other things to get the results, but it's how you apply the product and your formulas that make the difference. So Molly's hair was zone tone, so that's where I use a formula at the root, as you saw in the process, and then I use another formula on the mid, and then I normally, on the ends and the face frame, I will dilute that second formula down so that it is sheerer, so that there is less tone, and so that it's brighter and lighter in the face frame and on the ends. And that's something I've been doing for an awfully long time, but it has become, I've been doing it for over 10 years probably now, like 15 years, something like that. I always use foil because I find foil very predictable. Balayage is, freehand painted on the surface of the hair. I do that sometimes, but only on very light bases, or if I don't want too much lift. If I want predictable lift and I want that contrast, then I always use foil. If you love balayage and you do a lot of balayage, that's fine, but I find you have to use higher levels of peroxide, and I'm not into that. And there are videos about that here too on my channel that are all about peroxide levels and ratios and like lifting and all of that stuff. Loads of bleach content. But it's the toning that really makes the difference, because you're blending in that root slightly, whether you're doing it softly or you're getting more contrast, and that gives you the dimension. Then you've got something that adds lots of shine and a tiny bit of depth and tone to the hair, and then you've got those very light ends and that light face frame, and that's how you create the dimension through toning. So the kind of holy trinity, if you like, of those dimensional results is how you place your foils, less is more, how you lift the hair. You want that contrast between the natural base and the highlight. And if you're working on someone that's very blonde, then you can add that dimension. And then how you tone the hair to give it that fantastically blended, pulled together dimensional look. So that's it. We've come to the end of this slightly new style test, if you like, of slightly different place to film a video and slightly different editing style. Thank you all very much. If you come this far, I really appreciate you. As I said earlier in the video, my subscribers are awesome and thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this format and you would like to see more of this style of video, then please let me know in the comments. And obviously, if you have any questions, I can't give you very specific formulas because I can't see your hair, but I can answer your questions and try to help you in the right direction, whether you're a hair pro or a consumer. I'm happy to answer all questions and all comments. Nice questions and comments, of course, hair-related ones. But thank you all for watching this. You all take lots of care and I'll see you all in the next one.